Welcome back, Officer Public. It's your Coruscant Honorable Police Chief APGAINS. What do you notice first? Same sweatshirt. That means it's a great weekend, boys. The most important thing, bar none, it's not even close, there is no second in Galaxy of Heroes, has always been the same thing, or at least since GAC started, which was before my time. Or at least the old Grand Arena before Grand Arena Championships, where it was like a tournament thing and there was Shore Trooper. It was weird. But the most important thing in Galaxy of Heroes, it's not datacrons, it's not mods, it's not reading the annoyingly long kits. No. The most important thing is the characters that you have on your roster. Now, I have long said that you give someone a better roster, even if they, or like APGAINS, and let's be honest, are absolute dog shit at the game, they're likely going to win. And by likely, I mean I like 99%. You can kind of tell who's going to win a GAC depending on what the rosters look like. Now, we exist in a world where when people don't play, like a 1 GP player can beat a 15 million GP player if the one person doesn't play and the other person gets one banner. We exist in that world. I'm not talking about that. I've long used the analogy that there's two different types of chess games happening in GAC. There's the top 1 to 3% of players where it's chess. Everyone's got the same pieces. You sit down at the board. It's about the psychological battle between you and your opponent to decide who wins. It's the strategies you use. It's occasionally the modding and the datacrons you have as well. Datacrons definitely added a pay-to-win feature even at the upper echelons of GAC. Just ask Arnold. I'm sure he'll complain very readily to you about how not fun it is. But for the other 95 to 97% of the player base, it's always been about, Andy Dufresne. You're in Shawshank prison. All you want is a couple of rocks from the yard, a little rock hammer. Yes, you're kind of planning your escape on the side, but you're building your pieces for yourself. Every roster that you go up against has been hand built over time by a different person. You've brought your own to the table, and it's not about. It feels very reductionist to say this, but it's true, and you guys all know it's true in your heart, and it's why we've been so successful in GAC over so many years, is that it's almost never about the skill of the player that you're going up against or the skill of yourself. It's about the roster it's constructed. Case in point, the person I'm playing here, I'm 8.19 million, basically 8.2 million GP, and I believe my opponent is also 8.2 million GP, and it's very rare to see an opponent that is, within 2 million GP of me, but let alone literally 25,000 GP away from me. So I know he has to be a really good player. And honestly, I would go so far as to say he's probably a better player than I am, because I don't know if I could be this high with the roster that he has. But even if he was twice as good as he actually is, it doesn't matter because my roster is better. And yes, there is secret footage of me doing some weird sciencey testing stuff after I won the GAC, which is why you're going to notice that this front wall looks absolutely fucked. Also, I thought he made a mistake here by putting Savage to lead, but the extra turn meter gain is actually really, really fucked up against the counters that I usually use against Savage. So where I thought that was a mistake, another example that this player is probably better than I am. Another example is this Starkiller team. I use my Starkiller GG counter, and I should have been like, oh my god, there's no damage on this team, no one's going to die, GG's not going to get any AoEs off, we're going to lose. But like I said, he's great, and I'm a fucking idiot. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the account's just better. And I know that people hate to see it, because people have old accounts that they've been, and they're just not great, and everyone, including myself, desperately wants to feel that there's a datacron or there's a mod or there's a strategy, ship only defense, shout out, that there's a strategy that's going to give you the upside that having a better roster will, but there just isn't a world, and there never has been a world where you are going to punch up to your fullest potential if you aren't constructing a good roster. And people have always asked me why, when we've done 13,000 rosters over the last 5 years, but why I sometimes get upset when people push back against some of the things that I say. And not that I am the end-all be-all on information, even though I've spent way more hours thinking about rosters than any human who's ever lived times 10, because I'm a young child, and unlike my competition, I don't have children or a family or responsibilities getting in the way of my thinking about Galaxy of Heroes. Probably a mistake on my part, but nevertheless. But why I get so like heated and passionate and I care so much about it is because it is the game. If you are not spending tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, the game is entirely the roster that you build. And if you're making mistakes or you're not, using your resources to the fullest that you can, you're going to find yourself in a situation like this where my opponent, I am 100% sure, is a much better player than me. Looking at his mods after I won the GAC, he's a better modded player than me. We both don't really use any datacrons, so I mean, we're not going to really factor that into the equation because I hate datacrons just as much as he does. But it literally came down to my account is just better. And I don't know if that's fair. I'm not going to pass judgment on the game or anyone else for how this happens to be, but I am a GAC monkey, and I care about winning, and I care about you guys, and you guys are well aware that my entire channel is literally just how can poor people win more GACs by doing things smarter than people with money. And I'm happy that it is the case that you can use intellect over wallets and have adverse or have, non-linear outcomes in your GACs. You can punch up 2 and 4 and sometimes more million GP and achieve more than you could have possibly imagined. But let me get this through everyone's head for the umpteenth million time, because this GAC was just like the perfect catalyst for this point. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. Before this round started, if you go back to my last video, I talked about saying, you can quote me at the very end. I literally said, I am going to annihilate this kid. And he's probably older than me because the demographic of this game skews to be older than what I am. So calling him a kid, I don't think I said the word kid, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. And while there was maybe a 2% chance that I would have lost on just like lag outs or just like gross misplays of epic proportions, there's that puncher's chance, that any given Sunday kind of thing I was talking about in the last couple of videos. But like, I didn't kill him. I beat him and there was no shot that I was going to lose, but I didn't kill him because I think he's way better than I am at this game, at the actual like understanding what the kids do. I would have never thought that the counters that he probably looked at I'm sure he didn't actually look at my history, but the counters that I use against, Treya Savage don't work if you instead shift in the Savage leadership ability, which gives him a fuck ton of turn meter. And I had 5 characters with 100% turn meter, but because of the way that they gain turn meter, they get overcharged turn meter that's more, their 100% turn meter is worth more than my 100% turn meter, and they killed everyone, even though all 5 of my characters were ready to annihilate Savage and had 100% turn meter. Like, I never would have thought about that, and that counter wouldn't have worked if he didn't have the brain power to make that happen, but my account was better, and I won because of it. And yes, you will have better outcomes if your account is better and you're good, but the most important thing in this entire game is how good your account is, and that's why I'm always so passionate, and that's why I always care so much about putting people in the right direction, because you will come up against people like this GAC where they are just better than you, and you will still win, and we're fucking GAC monkeys, and at the end of the day, I don't care if I have to fucking grab his dick and twist his dick to win. I'm gonna fucking do it. I mean, people get mad at me for doing fleet-only defenses. It works, and it pisses people off, and I've had public shit talk for it, but it fucking wins more GACs than other strategies, and it's amazing. I don't care what it takes to win. I just want to win, and that's how you win, and that's that. If you are in the Patreon, look for pings from the guys that are helping to develop the cube. We're ramping up beta testing and trial and error stuff right now. We're adding a bunch of features basically every single day. So for the 12 of you guys who are still watching, who are also Patreon members, just make sure to be active on the Discord, because we're going to need some feedback before we launch a web application for the rest of the world to use in I'm not sure how long. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Woo.